So first, I'd like to say that I'm not qualified to answer this question. I don't think that maybe anybody's qualified to answer this question, but it's something that I've thought about a lot. And I just like to share this because maybe it's going to help somebody make sense of whatever this is. And I think there's a lot of connection to story. There's a lot of parallels between life and story. And I think this question about meaning is one of them. So to talk about meaning or the meaning of life, I think we first need to address something more fundamental, something that sits really beneath everything else, and that's the idea of randomness. Because before you can understand meaning, you have to decide whether things happen by accident or by design. And for me, through experience and reflection, I've come to this pretty firm conclusion that nothing is random. And when I say nothing, I mean like literally nothing is random. You see, when you look very closely at life, say like a single blade of grass or the billions of perfectly balanced systems that make up our universe or even a human being, randomness really loses credibility. Let me explain. I once heard an analogy that I really liked on this. So imagine you have a box filled with 500 black and white beads, each representing part of an amino acid chain, right? And you blindfold yourself and you thread them onto a string in random order, obviously, because you're blindfolded. And then you try to duplicate that exact pattern again blindfolded. The odds of doing that are astronomical, obviously. But doing that a billion times over, it's basically impossible. And yet that's what nature does, right? It's order, it's repetition, it's patterns, it's clearly designed. If everything were truly random, there would be nothing that repeats. Nothing would organize, nothing would exist in any sort of consistent form. So the question becomes, are things actually random? Or do they just appear random because we're too feeble and we can't perceive the bigger structures that they belong to? Well, I think so, because it's easier to write something off as random, right? We do it all the time. You bump into an old friend, you get sick before a big event. It's kind of like this random thing. And we call these things random because, well, it's easy to define them that way, but retrospect really strips away randomness, I think. At least at times. What feels like coincidence in the moment can reveal itself later as just connection and some sort of cause and effect, or as part of something larger. I know that's my experience. It's happened to me more times than I can count in very tremendous ways, in kind of life-changing ways. So while I believe nothing is random, I don't think every event holds the same weight, right? Because I can go ahead and say, hey, well, every step, every breath, every moment and millisecond has meaning and purpose. And I do believe that, but they don't all carry the same weight. Some moments are major, clearly, like the temples of the story, while others are connective tissues between them, right? Characters still need to travel from place to place, but they are connected. Every frame matters, right? Every breath, every millisecond are part of the collective narrative. And that's kind of the architecture or the scaffolding where meaning exists. If we accept that life is designed, that we are put inside of this beautiful, complex simulation of sorts, I don't have a better term for it, then meaning is just woven through experience. We communicate with reality through our senses. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, we smell, we touch, what we intuit. These are our antennas, our receivers, our ways of listening to what life or God or the intelligent designer is saying to us. The meaning of life is not hiding by any means. I actually would say that it's screaming at us at all times. But you gotta be willing to see it or hear it. As a great guru once said, those who have eyes, let them see. Those who have ears, let them hear. And I think also the message is just personal. The meaning is individual. I think we can relate to all of it. We're all interconnected in it. And each one of our stories are kind of part of this vast human tapestry. But yeah, there's an interesting story. Years ago, in my very naive and vulnerable years, I met a woman in a writer's group. She's an older woman, and she kind of struck me as something of like a mystic. I don't know if she really was, but she wasn't like famous or particularly like forward about her beliefs by any means, but I was just aware of her. I don't even think she was aware of me, to be honest. And I'd overhear her speaking, and she talked about following signs. I found this to be very interesting. kind of following these words or these patterns that seem to echo through her days. She paid very close attention to it, right? For example, she'd overhear a rare word in a cafe and she'd call back to a time where it was used in conversation a day earlier. And because of its rarity, she'd take it as a sign or like a small breadcrumb that was guiding her step. And she'd follow these cues like the white rabbit in the Matrix, and they'd lead her into, let's say meaningful encounters and opportunities. And at the time, I thought it was an eccentric, sort of interesting take, but I never forgot it. I didn't believe it. I was skeptical, but I never forgot it. And years later, it came back to me. And I don't think by random. I think it stuck with me because there was some sort of seed of truth there. What I'm trying to say is that life leaves clues. We just stop looking for them. They're all over. God is speaking to you at all times. Like I've said, this reality, this thing that you're sensing. One of the tragedies of modern life, especially in Western culture, is how easily we just kind of lose the ability to listen. Technology keeps us distracted. We shove junk into our stomachs and into our eyes, our minds, our ears. We're just overstimulated with a bunch of stuff that has no substance. And so we're undernourished spiritually. And we lose the ability to engage in what's actually real, with the divine communication that's happening 24/7 around us at all times. We're not looking for the clues. We're not looking for the white rabbit. And when you can't slow down enough to just observe, to just feel, to experience, you kind of lose access to meaning altogether. You shut the door. Everything in your life, every person you meet, every challenge you face, it carries significance. I learned to approach life kind of in this way, and not by constantly asking why something is happening, but by just living inside of it. When life feels heavy, and it often does for me, I just let myself feel it fully. Because I know that especially heaviness is a communication from God. It's full of signs and direction. God or the universe or whatever you want to call it is speaking to you in those moments and telling you, take a turn. Not the therapy, because listen, therapy in the Western sense often wants you to just unpack the past, to dissect every wound, and I understand the intent, but I think that's a trapdoor. I'm almost allergic to my past. I don't want to live in it. I don't want to experience it anymore. I just want to experience now. To sit inside the emotion until it passes, because that's where the meaning emerges. That's where the perspective comes in. Not by looking at what happened when I was a kid because my parents had this and I had a troubled life. That doesn't help. Meaning isn't something that you think your way into. It's something that you live your way through. You follow the signs. You look for the signs. You look for the white rabbit constantly. That's the only way to truly access it. And to access it honestly. That's kind of your key card, is honesty. You have to tell yourself the truth. You have to face what's real, and you have to stop lying, even in small ways. It's easy to be in denial and to take the wrong turn. You have to be completely honest. Without honesty, you regress and you fall into a dark path. You go through the trap door. Finding meaning is like being lost in a dense jungle, for sure. You can't see your way out because the brush is thick and dark, but every honest moment is like taking a machete and cutting away a little bit more of this darkness, creating a clearing and a space for just the light to shine through. And then once you find that light, then upwards and onwards you go. Slowly, gradually, but it's upwards. That's my experience at least, and no one can do that for you. You have to want it. So I guess, like, what is the meaning of life? It's not a single sentence or a philosophy, that's for sure. It's the unique experience itself. That's all I'm trying to say. It's telling you something. And the meaning is as unique as the individual itself. So to extract that meaning, you need to try and engage with every moment as if it carries divine intelligence, because it does. Do your best to stay in communication and know that every event, every intuition, every emotion is God whispering something to you. It's something. Your only job is to listen and to take honest action, direct action, and define the meaning for yourself later. It all happens in retrospect. You always look back and say, I see. And I know that can seem insignificant, right? But I think we are and we aren't so insignificant. It's a strange paradox, but that's what this is. Enjoy it and have a beautiful life.